Jump into it. Player prop best
All
bet
right.
Monday Night Football.
Yeah, actually, we were talking about it beforehand. I did not play it until we started talking production here. But Joe Mixon over 85 and a half rushing yards. And there's a lot to be excited here. Just pulling up the Dallas Cowboys stats right now. They've given up five different rushing yards, over 180 rushing yards so far this season in their 9 games. That's five over 180. There's not really much of a backfield besides Joe Mixon for the Texans. And frankly, if we expect them to win the game and by 7.5 point spread, you imagine this game might not be even close. You imagine they're going to run the ball quite frequently right now. And I think that the emergence of Nico Collins and his coming back to this team is only going to open things up underneath for this running game. Joe Mixon's stats have been fantastic this season. He's gone over 100 yards in 2, 3, 4, 5 of his 7 games so far this season. And, last week he played Detroit, and Detroit held him to 46 yards on 1.8 yards per carry, but he still had 25 attempts. So this is a guy that's getting a ton of opportunities right now. And if you take a look at Detroit versus Dallas, Detroit is about 5, I believe, in rushing allowed EPA allowed per play. And Dallas is dead last in that statistic, and it's not relatively close. So we have a Dallas team that is I don't even want to say not good against the runner, is absolutely putrid against the run. We have a running back that gets a lot of carries, the lion's share of carries in that backfield, and frankly has found a ton of success so far this year. And a game state that should be Houston favored by a fair amount here and should have a lead throughout. There's not a whole lot of reason not to back Joe Mixon right now. So I did bet over 85 and a half rushing yards, Joe Mixon.
Yeah, agree with everything that you're saying there. I think this should be a big game again for Joe Mixon coming off of what transpired last weekend. And we talked about it. The Lions defense has been really good against the run over the course of the season, at least. And I think DJ Reader there has made a huge difference for that Lions rush defense. But we take a look at this Houston Texans team, right? They should be getting Nico Collins back. But again, right now, the focal point of the offense has been Joe Mixon. And Steve laid out the numbers. I'm not going to regurgitate everything because they speak for themselves. But the one thing that also sticks out about Joe Mixon is that we know he's going to get the rush attempts there as well. The backup right now in Damian Pierce, he also is dealing with an injury, was limited in practice thus far this week, is officially listed as questionable for this game. But I do think this is a bounce back spot here for Joe Mixon. And then let's not forget, even with him only having 46 rushing yards last week, he still got 25 attempts last week for this Texans team. And 3 out of the last 4 weeks, he's had at least 25 attempts for this Texans rushing attack there. So co-sign this 100%. We'll get back on the winning track here after dropping our last 2 player prop best bets. But I have full faith in this one. So we're going to go Joe Mixon over 85 and a half rushing yards as our player prop best bet to round out week 11 and get back on the winning side of things.